On May 14th, Baltimore City Republicans will decide who will lead them in the upcoming general election for mayor of Baltimore. 3 candidates stand ready, each with their own vision for the city's future. Tonight, we dive into their platforms and perspectives on key issues impacting Baltimore. Welcome to the Republican mayoral debate for Baltimore City, brought to you by the Leon Thomas Group.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Leon Thomas. We're glad to have you here with us for the Republican debate for the mayor of the city of Baltimore. The Leon Thomas Group, our company, is your partner in all things virtual. And part of the work that we do, one of the services we offer, is that of voiceovers. And the voice that you heard was the voice of one of our voiceover artists, Kelly Johnson. As we lead up to the primary election on May 14th with early voting starting on May 2nd, going through May 9th, I want to encourage everyone to vote. But before you vote, it's important for you to know where the candidates stand on the issues. And I've talked to many voters that are simply uninformed about the issues, and in many cases, uninformed about the candidates. And in the city of Baltimore, some citizens are not aware that there is more than one party with candidates running for mayor. One of the purposes of tonight's debate is to allow you, the voter, citizens of Baltimore, to meet other candidates that are running to be mayor. My hope is that after meeting these candidates and learning their views on some of the key issues, you will look at them more closely before just casting your vote for anyone. Tonight's debate is produced by my company, the Leon Thomas Group. No one has paid us to do tonight's broadcast. My team and I are doing this because we want voters in Baltimore to be well informed. And one of the ways to do that is to bring candidates to you other than those that you see on TV every day. Our company provides opportunities for college students and recent grads to gain valuable hands-on experience in broadcasting and related areas. We have a team of producers and mentors that are working behind the scenes tonight, and I thank you, the LTG team, for what you are doing. One more thing about tonight. On most Tuesdays, I'm with my church family at what we call Community Circle. It's a time for our church family to spend time together and to study the Bible. Tonight, I am here. So I want to give a special shout out to my pastor, Dane Caraway, and the congregation of Church at the Well in Towson. And of course, I want to thank my wife for always supporting me and loving me. Now, let me provide some background information that will lead into the format for tonight's debate. Each candidate was asked to submit 4 questions to me for consideration during tonight's debate. And from that pool of questions, I selected 9 questions that I will pose to them tonight. The candidates received the questions in the order they will be asked. Therefore, they should come tonight ready to present at their best. My job and the concept behind this debate is not to make anyone look bad or to have voters make a selection based on which candidate is the best extemporaneous speaker. The idea is to allow voters to see candidates at their best, providing well thought out responses. Candidates will answer in a random order that was decided via a draw yesterday that producer Dr. Jay Rasenko and I did together. And the candidates will have an identified time limit to answer each question. And my producers and I will make sure all of the candidates do not go over those timeframes. And it is expected that the candidates will stay focused on the questions at hand, and any deviation will prompt a gentle reminder from me, and repeated disregard may result in the candidate's mic and camera being turned off for the remainder of that question. I am the sole decision maker in determining if a candidate's response is directly related to the topical question at hand. And our debate will end with a challenge round. And during this period of the debate, candidates can pose follow-up questions to one another based on previous responses. All right, all that's out of the way. It's now time to hear from the candidates. For this first part, candidates, you have 3 minutes, and joining us tonight are Pastor Shannon Wright, Mr. Donald E. Scoggins, and Mr. Michael Moore is having some tech difficulty. We're trying to work through that with him. Pastor Moore, it's now time for you. You have 3 minutes. Provide an introduction, and also in your introduction, answer this question. Why do you want to be mayor of Baltimore? 3 minutes, Pastor Wright.
Good evening. I'm running for mayor of Baltimore City because I believe we can do better with public schools, because I believe that we can do better with lowering crime. And I believe that we can do better with regards to food insecurity. I know we have not had leadership that has taken us in the direction we need to go. I know that I have the solutions to bring this city to where it needs to be. And I am running to be able to bring those solutions, to put people first, take politics out, and craft policy that will actually help our families, our communities, our neighborhoods, and our city as a whole to grow.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Wright. Next up, Mr. Scoggins. Mr. Donald Scoggins, the floor will be yours in just a second for three minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Donald E. Scoggins, and I'm honored to be here tonight discussing my vision for the city of Baltimore and why I am running for mayor. First and foremost, I want to become Baltimore's next mayor because I believe our city has long been moving along the wrong trajectory. For many years, we've faced challenges that have not been adequately addressed. And I fear, especially for the next generation, if we don't act swiftly. The window to make the necessary significant changes is rapidly closing, and that's why I've stepped up to lead the city in a new direction. Let me tell you a bit about my background and why I believe I am the right candidate for this crucial role. I bring a wealth of experience from various sectors. My journey included military service, both federal and local government employment, over 25 years of small business ownership, and decades of volunteer work within our communities. This diverse background has given me deep understanding of the complex issues facing Baltimoreans from all walks of life. What sets me apart is that I'm a pragmatic approach to problem solving. I don't believe in just talking about issues. I believe in taking action and finding real solutions. My track record in business and community service reflects this commitment to getting things done. I have a proven ability to collaborate with diverse groups, navigate complex challenges, and deliver results. As your next mayor, I'm committed to transparency, accountability, and inclusive governance. I believe in engaging directly with the community, listening to your concerns, and working together to build a better Baltimore. We need leadership that is responsive to the needs of every resident, regardless of background or zip code. I envision a Baltimore that is not just a city with problems, but a city with immense potential. Together, we can turn challenges into opportunities. We can revitalize our neighborhoods, improve education and job opportunities, address public safety concerns, and create a more sustainable city for all. In closing, I ask for your support and for your vote. Together, let's embark on this journey to make Baltimore the envy of the East Coast and Mid-Atlantic region. Thank you for your time and believing in the future of our great city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go into our next question. Candidates, for this section of questions, you will have 2 minutes, 40 seconds. And something that I want to point out, if you don't use all of your time, you don't get credit later. It doesn't carry over to be used on another question. The question right now is, what about Baltimore disturbs you, and what makes you the most excited about Baltimore? And I'll repeat the question. What about Baltimore most disturbs you, and what makes you the most excited about the city? Mr. Scoggins, you're first on this one. Go ahead, sir. This one,
Ready?
2 minutes, 40 seconds.
Okay. Thank you for that question, and it's a crucial one. What troubles me most about Baltimore, it is flawed, or to put frankly, corrupt political leadership. It's not just about money, although that certainly is part of it. What I'm referring to is the city's bloated and dysfunctional administrative structure, which is in dire need of total transform. Baltimore is situated in a state viewed as a paradigm of social justice, liberalism, or forward thinking. However, the reality is quite the opposite. Despite the utopian description, the city's political tolerance isn't diverse or receptive to change. We've witnessed systemic issues that hinder progress and leave many communities underserved and overlooked. But here's what makes me incredibly excited about Baltimore: its potential. Despite the myriad of issues we face, Baltimore possesses great bones and invaluable advantages. We're strategically located within a wealthy region with a great internal road network, near fantastic waterways and close to government power centers. However, above all, these assets are the people. After over 60 years of one-party governance, the residents of Baltimore are yearning for a different kind of leadership. They are tired of the status quo and are hungry for change that will uplift our neighborhood, address systemic inequalities, and restore trust in our governance. My vision for Baltimore is one of inclusive and transparent governance, where every voice matters and every community thrives. Together, we can work forward a future where Baltimore shines as a beacon of progress, prosperity, and unity. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts, and I look forward to working along you to build a better Baltimore.
Thank you, Mr. Scoggins. Same question to you, Pastor Wright. Same question to you. Coming up, you have 2 minutes, 40 seconds, Pastor Wright.
This is a difficult one, but what most disturbs me about the city of Baltimore is how the abuse that we have suffered under failed leadership administrations has caused us to be desensitized to the greatness that we all possess. What disturbs me is that when there is an issue in the city, folks tend to say, well, it's a national issue, and it's the same thing in Chicago or LA or New York. Well, I don't live in LA, Chicago, or New York. I live in Baltimore, and I want leadership that is sensitive to the needs in Baltimore, understands the problems in Baltimore, and has solutions to those problems. The fact that we don't see that is what disturbs me most about the city. What makes me the most excited about the city is the potential and the people. The people of Baltimore are proud of their city. They're proud of their culture. They're proud of their communities and their neighborhoods. The people here in Baltimore make you excited because each neighborhood has a history. It has a story. It has a culture, even though all of the neighborhoods make up the same city. People are proud of where they come from, of what their community stands for. So for me, what excites me the most is despite the high crime and the year after year of over 300 plus homicides, and the fact that schools are failing and that graduation rates are dropping and that college admission is dropping, the fact that the population of the city itself is dropping, it are things that can be turned around because the people that are here still believe. Some may be here because they can't figure out how to get out. But many of you are here because you still believe in the potential and the greatness for Baltimore. That's what excites me the most. We have the ability to be able to improve our schools. We have the ability to be able to create economic opportunity. We have the ability to be able to improve the quality of life. What we've needed, what's been missing, is leadership. And we haven't had good leadership in Baltimore City that can think outside of the box in decades. So this isn't a new thing. The problems aren't new. So any of the other folks that are running on the other side, they're not new either. We need something different than the same recycled policies and recycled leadership that we've all had to endure for the last several decades. Thank you.
Thank you. We see that Mr. Moore has joined us. Good evening, Mr. Moore. Good evening.
I think I'm still having problems, and I'm thinking at
We're going
this
to ask our
time.
producers to work with you on that. We're going to move on to the next question. The next question, Pastor Wright, you are first for the next question. Again, 2 minutes, 40 seconds for this question. The question is, what is the best solution to fix public schools? Repeating the question, what is the best solution to fix public schools? 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please.
Wow, it's going to be hard to stick to that time limit. So let me just say this. We have to get it right with the schools because fixing the schools will help change the trajectory of the city in a long-term, long-time, sustainable way without the need for as much state or federal input. Now, how do you do that? You introduce competition as you would in business. You open up the schools. You allow for charter schools. You allow for competition between the charter schools. You allow for people to be at their best. The problems we have with Baltimore schools are mainly at the Board of Education, not in the schools and the classrooms. So one, you introduce charter schools. And I say introduce because although it is the law of the land here, there are very few and it's been difficult to establish new charter schools. But you want to expand charter schools. You want to expand the boost program so that parents that are stuck in schools that are poor performing have an option for their children. And then you also want to introduce academic savings accounts. Academic savings accounts are a proven strategy that have worked in states across the country where there have been challenges in urban education. And let me be clear, if we want to fix most of the ills in our city, we have to fix the schools. Now, with academic savings accounts, parents get to decide where is best for their children based on the offerings of that school and the needs of their children. With charter schools, you have the ability to have more freedom to be able to create schools in a way that's necessary for that community. It's easier to go into community schools, which is something we absolutely need here. And by community school, I mean a school where the children are in school, but you also have opportunities for parents, grandparents, and caregivers to sit in on some of the classes and classes that they can participate in as well. We need a community school model that is both charter and deals and comes from a perspective of accepting boost and academic savings accounts so that parents can make the best decisions for their children and their academic success and future. We need a fully elected school board that is accountable to the parents. We need a mayor that understands, although they appoint the school board currently and the school board picks the superintendent, that the mayor is responsible for a great bulk of that budget. And that as mayor, in my grown folk capacity as mayor, I may not be able to withhold the money, but I will make sure you're accountable for every penny spent so that it gets into the classroom and
Thank
educates
you.
the children.
Thank you, Pastor Wright. Thank you. Mr. Scoggins, same question for you. 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please.
Okay. To me, the best solution begins with acknowledging that our school system needs a total overhaul from top to bottom. It's not personal. It's about recognizing that today's curriculum and teaching methods are not effectively serving our students. Because what I would recommend is implementing reforms now, because young people in their formative years are missing out on opportunities to acquire the essential skills needed for success in life. Many of Baltimore students come from challenging familial situations, family situations that hinder their readiness for traditional academic instruction. The realities necessitates a shift back to vocational or trade-based education. Fixing our schools goes beyond just changing the curriculum. We need to invest in modernizing facilities, providing adequate resources and support for teachers, and fostering a safe and conducive learning environment. It's about creating a holistic approach to education that addresses the diverse needs of our students while preparing them for the challenges and opportunities of the future. I believe in a comprehensive approach that combines vocational training, academic excellence, and student support services. It's about equipping our youth with the skills and knowledge they need to regard themselves for backgrounds of circumstances. Also, Baltimore, we need to be innovative, we need to be creative, and we need to do things that maybe that's thinking outside the box, because the current situation is not, the current status in Baltimore is not really working. I believe that we need to transform Baltimore's school system into one that inspires, educates, and prepares our students for success in the 21st century. Thank you for your interest in this vital issue, and I look forward to working towards positive change for our schools and our city.
Thank you, Mr. Scoggins. The next question, and Mr. Scoggins, you are first on this question. What is your plan for tackling youth crime? And again, just a reminder to our audience, the questions being posed tonight came from a bank of questions that the candidates provided. I selected among the questions that were provided. The question again, Mr. Scoggins, you're first. What is the plan for tackling youth crime? 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please.
Tackling youth crime and violence is a complex issue that demands a multifaceted approach. One of the fundamental pillars of my plan is to focus on rebuilding and strengthening families. We need robust strategies to address the challenges stemming from decades of failed social policies. This includes creating innovative measures to encourage family cohesion and providing necessary support services for families in need. Central to this effort is the recognition that healthy extracurricular and workforce activities play a crucial role in keeping young people engaged and away from crime. As part of my plan, I will mandate the creation of internship opportunities with local government and nonprofit organizations. These internships will be designed to provide valuable experiences and skills to our youth, especially those in communities that have been historically underserved. Furthermore, I will work closely with community leaders and organizations to develop age-appropriate programs that cater to the diverse interests and needs of the youth. These programs will not only offer constructive activities, but also serve as pathways to future opportunities and success. Another key aspect of my plan is implementation of the Community Crime Prevention Program. This program emphasizes community engagement, neighborhood watch initiatives, and a collaboration with law enforcement to ensure a safer environment for everyone. By empowering communities and fostering partnerships, we can address the root causes of youth crime and create lasting positive change. In summary, my approach to tackling youth crime involves a combination of family support, engaging activities, internship opportunities, and community-led initiatives. Together, we can provide our youth with the tools, resources, and guidance they need to thrive and become productive members of society. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scoggins. Pastor Wright, the question is yours. Again, repeating the question. What is your plan for tackling youth crime? 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please, Pastor Wright.
So youth crime is something that doesn't, you know what, folks, let me just talk to you real. Youth crime comes from a whole host of issues, and some of which can't be legislated, like broken families, like struggling families, like fathers not being in the home. Those aren't things that we can legislate. However, what we can do is incentivize families to stay together and give them the supports that they need. When you see children that are out committing crimes, let me take it back. When you were growing up, you had your mom, you had your grandma, you had your aunties, you had your neighbors, folks that always were part of that community in that village. We don't have that these days. And that's part of what's missing with our youth. When youth go to school and they're not learning anything, when youth feel unsafe in school, when youth are unprepared and can't find a job to be able to help out at home in a viable way, they turn to doing things that they know they shouldn't. So we really want to handle the youth crime problem. We have to look at the root. Now, unfortunately, my opponent hasn't been here long enough to see a root, much less know how to look at it. But we that are here in Baltimore and have been here understand what the problem is for our youth, where the issues come from, and how to craft solutions that are more than just talking points, but will actually work. Like, yes, job supports. Yes, helping to support the family. Yes, improving the school so the children feel they have a safe place to go to. When children don't feel safe, they act out. When children aren't structured, they act out. So we need leadership that understands those things, that recognizes it, and that has been a success at parenting and can bring that parenting perspective to be able to be that model, that guide for the parents in this city to be able to get their houses in order and be able to get these youth in order. Now, a lot of that can't be legislated, but through a partnership with community organizations, as others have said, but also with churches and with synagogues and with mosques and with faith-based organizations to be those social supports for our youth, we have a better chance of catching these youth before they end up in the criminal justice system. And it would be better to prevent rather than cure. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Wright. Ladies and gentlemen, we're nearing up on the halfway point of our debate, the Republican debate for mayor of the city of Baltimore. And we know there are a lot of you watching, and we want you to take this time to text a friend, communicate with a loved one, and tell them this debate is airing now and that they should tune in for the second half. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to return in about 2 minutes. And during this commercial break, you'll see some examples of some of the great work that is produced by the Leon Thomas Group. You're watching the Republican debate for the mayor of the city of Baltimore. We'll be right back.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What will we do without it?
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you The Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Fallen from the sky.
I'm Leon Thomas with the Leon Thomas Group. Podcast, virtual events, webinars, streaming shows, and so much more. We want to be your partner in all things virtual.
You're watching the Republican debate for the mayor of City of Baltimore. I'm Leon Thomas. Thanks for watching. Let me give you a couple of announcements. You can watch replays of this debate on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube now, that link will always be available to you. We're not taking it down. It will not be edited. What you see here is what you're going to see on the replay. If someone is wondering how do they get the link to tonight's debate to watch the replay, you can go to our company website, theleonthomasgroup.com, and near the top, just under the menu, there is a link that they can click again to see the unedited version of the debate. Also, starting tomorrow evening, a replay of this debate will be on the Leon Thomas Group internet radio station. And you can listen to our radio station by clicking on the listening tab on the top of our website, the listening tab in the menu. So with that, let's bring our candidates back on the screen. Let's bring them back on. Thank you both for being with us. We're going to go into our fifth question. This one is Pastor Wright. You'll go first on this one. The question is, what did you achieve during your professional career that you are most proud of, and how could it contribute towards your mayoral tenure? Again, the question is, what did you achieve during your professional career that you are most proud of, and how could it contribute towards your mayoral tenure? Pastor Wright, you're first. 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please. 2:40.
So my intention was never to be in politics, but I understand when you end up in something, it's best to find out how that works. To that end, recognizing that this is a partisan primary, let me be clear. Though the primary is partisan, I intend to be the mayor for all the citizens of Baltimore City. Now, that being said, I have taken the time and lived in this state long enough to be the vice chair of the state party. I have taken the time and lived in this state long enough that I was the Baltimore City Central Committee chair. I have taken the time and lived in this state long enough that I was also the chair of the Black Republican Council. Those things have led me to be in a place to be able to understand policy and to be able to craft policy that will actually work, not just sound bites written and read from a piece of paper. All of that led me to be on Dr. Carson's Thought Leaders Roundtable in the last administration through HUD. That enabled me to actually sit at the table with the big boys and girls and be able to actually write policy from a standpoint of someone that could understand it and write it and understand also how to implement it. We wrote policy based on economics and how to improve the economic situation in the city. We wrote policy based on schools and how to improve urban education. We wrote policy on food insecurity and how to be able to shrink the food deserts, not just in size, but in quantity. We wrote the policy and the notebook with and for Dr. Carson to run HUD, which had a positive impact on all of our cities, not just Baltimore. So my background, I bring that kind of leadership to this city. I bring the kind of leadership that has been here in Baltimore long enough to understand policy on a federal level and how to translate it to actually work in Baltimore. Again, without sound bites and reading notes scripted for me from a piece of paper. I lived this. I understand it, and I am prepared to hit the ground day one and running to be able to answer the tough questions and be able to do it in a way that will actually benefit the residents of this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Wright. Mr. Scoggins, the question is yours. Again, repeating the question. What did you achieve during your professional career that you are most proud of, and how could it contribute towards your mayoral tenure?
Okay.
Mr. Scoggins, 2 minutes, 40 seconds.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to read because I'm prepared. I don't have a bunch of platitudes and gift the gab. And the question was, what did you do? Not what we did. The way you talked is that it was all couched into policies that you work with other folks and everything. But what did you do? That's the question. What
I'm
I
sorry,
did,
Mr. Scoggins, is this your time
Mr.
to attack me?
Can you,
Or do you want to?
producers, please mute the microphones? Producers, please mute the microphones.
Okay.
Mr. Scoggins,
Yes.
Mr. Scoggins, I'm going to ask you to answer the question.
Okay, I'll answer the question.
No, please listen. Please mute the microphones, producers. Keep them muted until I ask you to unmute them, producers, please. Mr. Scoggins, we want you to talk to the viewers, talk to those watching. There is a challenge round at the end of the debate where if you want to challenge something that someone has said, that's the time to do it. For now, please stay focused on providing your answer to the question. Producers, you may open the microphone now. Bring Mr. Scoggins to the main screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. To answer the question, I'm going to read. Throughout my professional career, there are several achievements that I hold dear, but one that stands out the most is in my role of co-founding the Frederick Douglass Housing Corporation nearly 50 years ago. At its inception, FDHC started with no financial assets, but a vision to provide affordable housing to those in need. This initiative was born out of Freddie Douglass Memorial Historical Association, established by Freddie Douglass' widow in 1900. This corporation started with zero assets and now has $2.4 million in its bank account. One of the other significant activities I've been involved in, over 25 years of selling real estate and involved in housing counseling, I've been able to assist many families. I have been able to assist many families from losing their homes. And as an urban planner, I collaborated with various community groups to address issues and implement improvements for their neighborhoods. As mayor, I plan to leverage this wealth of experience and knowledge to benefit Baltimoreans. I will read because I'm prepared. I will be a resource for community groups on urban planning matters, advocating for responsible development that benefits current residents and safeguards against displacement. Preserving communities and ensuring affordable housing options will be among my top priorities to create a more inclusive and thriving city for all residents. And also, I will be very robust in working to reduce the number of blighted and vacant properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question, Mr. Scoggins, you are first on this question. The question is, what is your housing plan? The question on the table is, what is your housing plan? 2 minutes, 40 seconds, Mr. Scoggins, you're first.
Okay. I will read my plan. My vision for housing in Baltimore involves a comprehensive overhaul of our housing delivery system. It's imperative that every aspect of this system is reevaluated to ensure it effectively serves our residents. This means restructuring the various offices involved in housing to streamline operations and improve outcomes for our citizens. One of the key goals of my administration will be to empower public housing residents to transition into home ownership. We'll develop programs and initiatives to support this transition and provide pathways to gainfully employed individuals to become homeowners as well. It's crucial that we create opportunities for sustainable home ownership across economic stratas. In addition to assisting residents in becoming homeowners, we'll focus on helping existing homeowners maintain their properties effectively and avoid tax sales. This includes also resources for properly upkeep and maintenance to preserve the value of their homes and neighborhoods. This issue of vacant and blighted structures is a significant challenge in Baltimore. To address this, we will establish an Office of Neighborhood Stabilization tasked with minimizing neighborhood blight and ensuring organized redevelopment efforts. Our approach to neighborhood redevelopment will be strategic, planned, and community-centered, aiming to revitalize areas while preserving their unique character and heritage. By reforming our housing apparatus and prioritizing initiatives that support home ownership, property maintenance, and neighborhood stabilization, we can create a vibrant and resilient Baltimore for all residents.
Thank you, Mr. Scoggins. Pastor Wright, the question is yours. Again, repeating the question, what is your housing plan? 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please. Go ahead.
Having lived in Baltimore for several years now, and following the city council, one of the first things that I would do is to make sure that legislation that has come before city council to be able to break down houses, to quote, create a larger housing stock, would not happen. And I'll tell you why. In order to really be able to grow our city and to be able to fix not just the housing problem, but jumpstarting our whole economic engine, we need to hold on to the housing stock that we have in a manner that it holds its value. So for my housing plan, what I would do is to be able to look at the abandoned and blighted properties, to be able to put together something similar to the dollar sales, but not the current iteration of it. I agree with Councilwoman Ramos that the current iteration of the dollar sales, it prices folks out of the market. I would make it so that we reintroduce, which we did in the 70s, but again, I was here long enough to understand these things. I would reintroduce low interest funding for folks to be able to actually buy and redevelop a property through the dollar homes in the city. I would make sure that the folks that are low income have the resources to be able to capitalize and be a part of the solution, not just of removing the blight, but of becoming homeowners in the city. When you increase homeownership, statistically, you decrease crime. You've got folks that are more invested in their communities. You've got folks that are more invested in the public schools. You've got folks that are more invested, have put roots in, put their money where their mouth is, and intend to stay here. We want to encourage that. And again, the way we do that is striking down the current legislation to split up existing houses by improving the dollar house formula, taking it back to the way it was in the 70s, where there were actually resources available for first-time homeowners and for low interest renovation loans so that people could actually buy the houses, afford to fix them up, and wanted to live there and wanted to rebuild their community. What we have to do is, regardless of whether it's education, housing, or economic development, any of that, is bring hope and joy and pride back to every level and every grouping, every topic and conversation of this city. We have lost that. But our goal in my administration will be to improve and increase the number of homeowners in the city, making home ownership affordable to everyone. And not only that, when we talk about being able to retain, it also means
Thank you, Pastor Wright. That ends your time. Thank you. Thank you. Pastor Wright, the next question is yours. And to our audience, there are 3 questions remaining. 3 questions remaining, Pastor Wright. You are first up on this question. What is your economics plan? What is your economics plan? 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please. Pastor Wright, you're up.
Okay. So to be able to properly answer the economic question, you have to be able to multitask. You have to be able to multi-track, and you have to actually been here long enough to know the city. So to start with, we've got to fix the schools. We do have to bring back vocation, training, and things about nature other than a college education. We need to be able to look at what industry is here, what industry we want to attract here, and be able to create a learning opportunity for young folks and adults to be able to meet the needs of the economic indicators and drivers that we're trying to attract to come to Baltimore. So we have to fix the schools. We have to look at property tax because we are pricing ourselves out of the market for young families and new families to come and live here in the city. Schools, taxes, fixing those two things, engaging our youth to bring down crime, those things organically will help to improve the economic outlook of our city. Let's look at this. Our city's economics is based on its tax base and structure. And right now, with our population shrinking, so is our base. So in order to be able to create an economic plan that is actually real and viable, we need to work on our property tax structure, increase home ownership, fix the schools to attract young families, include in the schools curriculum and tracks for the current and the future job segments, so that when we attract people with our incentives and structure, we also have the workforce that they need to be able to want to stay here. That's a big part of what we have to do. The other thing is, unlike this current situation with the ARPA funding, we have to create revenue bases so that we can actually stimulate the economic plan, the economic growth, and business opportunities without having to go to the state or the federal with the handout and say, please, sir, may I have some more? We need to be able to govern ourselves. Let's look at this for a second. In Baltimore, we've had too many issues of people coming in to take over the police, over the schools, and other things. We need our own economic base to grow in the city by doing the things that make people want to be here in Baltimore. Fix the schools, expand curriculum, lower the taxes, and the city will grow.
Thank you, Pastor Wright. The question is now yours, Mr. Scoggins. Again, repeating the question, what is your economics plan? 2 minutes, 40 seconds, please.
Okay. I'll answer the question. I won't ramble on. Our economic plan for Baltimore is multifaceted and designed to address the root causes of poverty while fostering business growth and revitalization. One of our primary objectives is to reduce Baltimore's poverty rate by creating opportunities for meaningful employment and economic empowerment. To achieve this, we will implement strategies such as restructuring the city's workforce through early retirements and attrition, allowing us to hire unemployed and public assistant residents into various roles within local government agencies. This not only benefits individuals by providing them with jobs, but also contributes to a more efficient and productive workforce. We are committed to supporting the growth of private businesses in the city by continuing current efforts, establishing an economic development office dedicated to coordinating business recruitment activities. This office will work closely with private business advocacy groups to attract investments and foster a conducive environment for business sustainability. An essential aspect of our economic plan is to streamline regulations that may hinder business creation and growth. By reducing unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles, we aim to encourage entrepreneurship and innovation within Baltimore's business community. Furthermore, we will explore innovative financing options such as mortgaging city-owned commercial office space to fund neighborhood redevelopment projects. Our administration will also establish a land bank to maintain blighted properties and vacant lots, ensuring their disposal with community development plans and contribute to an overall neighborhood revitalization. And in closing, I want to say that Baltimore, I don't know if anyone sees this or not, but this is a document that the Baltimore Business Journal puts out every year, and it shows a wealth of wealth in Baltimore, in the Baltimore region, that the city has not been tapping into. So this is what I would do. I'll be very robust in looking at businesses and other organizations that are here that can contribute to the financial fabric of the community. And that's what's good about having something that you read and you prepare for. Thank you very much.
We're down to 2 questions remaining. And again, to our audience, and just a reminder for the candidates, there will be a challenge round after question number 9. We're on question number 8. Mr. Scoggins, you are first on this question. The question is, what is your plan to fix food insecurity. What is your plan to fix food insecurity, Mr. Scoggins?
Okay.
2 minutes, 40 seconds, please.
Okay, food insecurity is a critical issue that requires immediate and sustainable solutions. Our plan to tackle food insecurity is centered around community redevelopment and creating an environment that attracts valuable grocers and food providers into underserved neighborhoods. One of the fundamental strategies is to develop communities to create conducive atmospheres for business, including grocers, to thrive. Many underserved areas lack access to quality food options due to economic disparities and neglect. By revitalizing these communities, we aim to attract grocery stores and other providers that can meet the nutritional needs of the residents. Also, we will, by revitalizing or by creating the not having food deserts, we will also help to reduce the amount of crime that's also been in these neighborhoods, and that's been a deterrent to having grocers come in. Additionally, our administration worked closely with community organizations, nonprofits, and food advocacy groups to address food insecurity comprehensively. This includes initiatives to promote urban agriculture, community gardens, and food education programs to empower residents with knowledge and resources to make healthier food choices. We believe that combining short-term measures like mobile food services with long-term strategies such as community redevelopment and food education, we can make significant strides in addressing food insecurity in Baltimore. It's not just about providing food, but creating sustainable solutions that uplift communities and improve overall well-being. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scoggins. The question is now yours, Pastor Wright. The question again is, what is your plan to fix food insecurity? Pastor Wright, 2 minutes, 40 seconds. The floor is yours.
Although, yes, we do need to redevelop communities to attract supermarkets and grocers, in the time it will take my opponent to do that, famine will have set in throughout the whole city. What we need is a plan now, today. One of the things that we've been doing, and I say we, because any good leader knows that it's not just about you, but it's about the team that you build. So what we have been doing to combat food insecurity in the city is working with churches. Since COVID, many churches have been closed. They've been doing virtual. So there's a lot of space in their parking lots. We've been encouraging churches and faith-based institutions to use some of their parking spaces to create an urban garden. We actually teach people how to grow food indoors and out year-round in this city and others around the country. Food insecurity is a big issue. You can't expect children to be in a classroom and hear what the teacher's saying when their stomach is talking louder than that teacher is. So we teach people how to grow their food. We work with churches to actually create markets in each of their communities. Now, as mayor, what I intend to do to grow from that is to be able to use some of the structures that we have that are city owned to be able to create rooftop gardens and rooftop markets. The reason for that is not just to grow food and put food on the table, to teach people about healthier living. It also will have a very positive environmental impact. So we want to create sustainable markets and sustainable food in a way that, one, helps people nutritionally and health-wise. Two, improves the environment. Three, changes young folks' mentality and mindset on healthy eating. Let's face it, food insecurity isn't just about the lack of supermarkets. Now, that being said, when you have no supermarkets, you find a higher level of desperation. You find a higher level of people being able to and willing to do things they were raised to know better than to do. So you got to fix that. You have to fix the food deserts. But in addition to the food deserts, there's the health aspect. This city is a majority folk of color. And the two things that come from poor nutrition that plague our city is high blood pressure and diabetes. Okay? And those two both lead to kidney disease. These are things that can be fixed. These are things that can be prevented with proper nutrition, with bringing food into the communities so that families can afford it and want to eat it and can get it regularly. You fix the food deserts and you fix the health disparities as well, and the environment.
Thank you. The final question, Pastor Wright, you'll go first on this final question. Share with us a viable plan for homelessness. Share with us a viable plan for homelessness. And again, just as a reminder, there will be a challenge round after both of you have responded to this question. A reminder also to keep your answers focused to the question. This question again is, share with us a viable plan for homelessness. Pastor Wright, you're first. 2 minutes, 40 seconds.
Again, homelessness is also one of those issues that we're going to require a multi-pronged approach. First, you have to ascertain and figure out why folks are homeless, whether it's because of economic reasons, whether there are some health issues, some mental health issues, or whatever the case may be. So first you have to do an assessment. Once you do that assessment, then we need levels and tiers of housing for people to be able to go into, to be able to get the supports and the services that they'll need so they don't return to being homeless. One of the things that in my administration we're going to do is we're going to look at housing projects, and there are several of them in the city that are abandoned. And my opponent probably wouldn't know that, but there are several in the city throughout all parts of the city that are abandoned. We're going to take those and we're going to
Pastor
do a
Wright,
New York
Pastor Wright,
model.
Pastor Wright, Pastor Wright, please stop the clock. We want you to talk to the audience about your plan, not what your opponent does, doesn't do, or whatever your thoughts or feelings are about him. Please stay focused. The audience and the viewers want to hear your plan. I allowed some leeway, but you are taking advantage of it. You keep making jabs at your opponent. That's okay to do when we get to the challenge round. Stay focused. We want to hear about your solution for homelessness. Thank you. Please unmute. Producers, please unmute.
As I was saying, what we're going to do is look at the properties, the abandoned properties in the city, the larger multifamily properties. We're going to revamp those, and we're going to create a model similar to what they do in New York of co-ops. You don't see them that often anymore, but the first step would be moving folks into a shelter system to be able to ascertain why they're homeless. The second would be moving folks to a co-op system. Now, during that time in the co-op system, folks would be giving information and education on how to balance their own budget, how to be able to make sure they have medical insurance, how to be re-educated if need be to be able to maintain their own house. That's the next phase. Phase after that would be getting folks into their own individual homes. The ideal for this would be 3-year steps. First a shelter, then a co-op, then a single individual home. And during that time, we would be using a model similar to Habitat for Humanity to make sure that people understand the concept of how to live in the house, how to take care of the house, and how to do the things necessary so that they never lose ownership of that house. That would be how I would end homelessness. First shelter, then co-op, then individual home with an educational component that goes from the beginning to the end, and the ability to continue that education and help people to grow their finances.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Wright. Next question. The same question goes to you, Mr. Scoggins. Again, repeating the question. Share with us a viable plan for homelessness. 2 minutes, 40 seconds. Mr. Scoggins, the stage is yours.
Okay. Addressing homelessness requires a comprehensive and compassionate approach that focuses on providing immediate assistance while working towards long-term solutions. Our plan involves around creating a structured system to support homeless individuals and families. Firstly, we will establish an office specifically dedicated to homelessness. This office will serve as a central point for homeless individuals to register and access essential services. By centralizing these efforts, we can streamline assistance and better understand the needs of each homeless person. Secondly, we will explore suitable existing city-owned spaces that can be repurposed to provide temporary housing for the homeless. They may include vacant buildings, unused facilities, or transitional housing units. Our goal is to provide a safe and dignified housing options while individuals work towards more stable housing situations. In addition to shelter, our plan includes robust support services such as access to mental health care, addiction treatment programs, job training, and social services. We recognize that homelessness is often intertwined with complex challenges, and addressing these root causes is essential to long-term success. Collaboration with community organizations, nonprofits, and faith-based groups will be the cornerstone of our approach. By partnering with existing resources and leveraging community support, we can expand outreach, provide wraparound services, and create a network of support for homeless individuals. Ultimately, our plan for homelessness is not just about providing shelter, but empowering individuals to regain stability and independence. It's about offering a hand up, not just a hand out, and working towards a future where every resident of Baltimore has a place to call home and support they need to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scoggins. Thank you, Pastor Wright, both of you for participating. It's now time for the challenge round, and we will go up to 20 minutes, which will take us to 9:15 on the challenge round. And Mr. Scoggins, a few questions ago, in one of your responses, you were responding to something that Pastor Wright said. Now, Mr. Scoggins, you may go ahead and do that. And I'm going to ask our producers if we could change the view, please. Change it so that we have the classic 3 up. There we go. Thank you very much, producers. You're doing an outstanding job. Mr. Scoggins, go ahead with your rebuttal to the comment that was made. Go ahead, Mr. Scoggins, and
Okay,
Pastor Wright, you'll have an opportunity to interact.
Sure. Now, are we going to be able to go back and forth, or is this just one time?
We will go twice back and forth, and then we
Okay.
will go. Maybe there's another issue that
Sure,
that
okay.
one of you wants to bring up. Go ahead.
When I first was approached about doing this, what I wanted to do, actually, I'm not a debater. I like to have forums where I can discuss ideas and have conversations. And when I do that, when I get the questions, I do research and I prepare myself and I have them written down. I'm not going to wing it and just be speaking a bunch of platitudes and have a gift of gab and everything. I like to write my things down because when you have a plan, it has to be written so you can look at it and go back and forth and make suggestions. Now, Pastor Wright, I didn't get into this to do any back and forth, but she's been very sarcastic and making a lot of snide remarks and everything, which I was not going to do. I was going to keep it dignified and not do this. And she made referrals about not being here long enough. I've been in the DMV area since 1972, 50 some years, and Baltimore is well known in the area as to what it's all about, what it can be, and what it has been. So I don't not make any apologies for that. I have broad-based experience. I've done a lot of things, worked with a lot of groups, and I've done things on my own. And I will say this: if Baltimore is going to really get out of this rut, it needs to have people who are not BS artists, and also it needs people who have the temperament to work with other people and not be you have to have a certain skill set. And my opponent, I don't, she says she's a pastor, but I don't know if she has a church or whatever, but you need to have somebody who is somewhat substantial and has done things in their life besides just use a gift of gab and wing it and just doing everything on a wing and a prayer. But other than that, I don't have anything else to say. I'm not going to, even though she didn't stick to most of the questions that you asked, she just sort of, just went back and forth about the same one question. She talked about everything she said was almost all in the same question. So that's basically it. I'm not going to take much time to be.
Let's hear Pastor Wright's response to that. Right. Go ahead, Pastor Wright.
So we are in a sorry state of affairs if my opponent thinks that my 8 answers were all the same thing. Clearly, then hearing is also an issue. Now, Jesus wept. So when I bring up the amount of time being in this city, it's not because my opponent's only been here less than 6 months and that Baltimore is very different than other parts of the DMV. It's because folks in this city are very territorial. They're very specific to their communities, to their neighborhoods, and to their grouping. And to not know that is problematic. That's number one. Number two, when I talk and I speak about the policies and I don't appear to be reading, it's because I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I've written the policies that I've talked about. So when you actually write things for yourself and they're not scripted and handed to you, you don't have to read them because you know them. I actually studied the economics, not just in general, but urban and specific to Baltimore so that I understand it. And I don't have to read from a note. I studied homelessness, housing issues through my time with being able to work with Dr. Carson at HUD. So no, I'm not reading it because I understand it. I then have the opportunity to write white papers for transitioning teams in several states on some of these very issues. So no, I'm not blowing smoke, speaking out of some dark orifice. I am actually speaking from which I know, not just from living here, but from actually studying it, from actually taking the time to be able to go to the Heritage Foundation and take a one-on-one class on every subject available, actually having to write policy as a part of graduating the program. So again, I don't have to read it because I understand it. And I wrote policy for several organizations in several states. So for my opponent to make it seem like I'm just blowing smoke and speaking out, that's the type of thing I would expect him to say. Again,
All right. Thank you.
Former vice chair, city chair, I understand politics and how to get it.
Thank you, Pastor Wright. Now, one thing that I want to point out before Mr. Scoggins, before we give you a chance to respond to that, Mr. Michael Moore received an invitation and had a lot of tech issues. All of the candidates received an email from me last week inviting them to participate in a tech walkthrough so that we wouldn't have any tech issues on what our team refers to as game day. Mr. Moore did not participate in that tech walkthrough and is having technical issues, and therefore he's not here. I want to make that clear. Mr. Scoggins, do you have a response to what Pastor Wright just articulated?
I have a response because I am always going to read whatever I do. This is when you're talking about policy, people who know what they're doing do not have to have that at the top of their head. They have something written down where they can refer to and share it with others. That's how I do things. I'm very collaborative, and I'm not a off the cuff. I will admit I'm not an off the cuff type speaker because I'm being an engineer or being an architect. I'm used to having things being very defined, and I'm very deliberate in whatever I do. And that's how I was able to create several nonprofit housing corporations that are still in existence, and one that started with zero money and now has $2.4 million in the bank. I believe in being very deliberative, and I don't know what you've actually done, Pastor Shannon. I mean, you're very articulate. You have a very good gift of gab and everything, but I kind of think that you maybe have a little bit of a BS artist in you too, because you probably should have written things down, because some of your answers apply to several of the other questions too. When you talked about homelessness, you went back to talking about education, several things that the questioner moderator asked, they all apply to the same thing. And what I did was I wrote everything down, I proofread it, and I looked at it and tried to see if I can get it down to the exact minutes that we were allotted and everything. Now, as far as saying that you've written policy and everything, well, I've written policy too, you know.
That's it. Please, thank you, Mr. Scoggins. Pastor Shannon, this will be the last response on this subject. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Scoggins, before throwing stones, really, you should look at your house. I still have the texts that you sent me when you were so upset that you were not able to get the media follow through in your own area, in your own backyard, with all of the many things that you ran for. Now, I understand that, first of all, we usually sometimes start with midlife, but we're kind of past that. So for you to be making these kind of jabs just because you're upset, that other folks actually have a platform and have done things that other people can recognize, I am very sorry you feel that way. Baltimore right now needs a leader that can speak off the cuff, that can handle things at the drop of a dime, that can turn on a dime, that understands the policies, doesn't have to go back to school on each one of them, and can make those hard decisions from day one. Now, when we talk about the pathways in day one, also, let me school you on this, bruh. Good leadership understands that to fix a problem, there's always a problem attached to it. And you have to be able to multitask and multi-track. So when I talk about homelessness, or when I talk about housing, education is wrapped into that. Because if you can't get a good education, you're not going to be able to keep a job to keep your own dang house. So I understand you don't know about these things, but that's how good leadership works.
All right.
Multi-pronged approach.
Time's up there. Now, I'm going to ask both of you. I want to ask both of you a question. And I want you to talk to me. Don't talk to each other. Talk to me and the audience. Here's the question. One of you or Mr. Moore will be the Republican nominee for the mayor of City of Baltimore. I've received some text messages tonight from Democratic voters who are watching to learn more about you. What benefit is it tonight to the Democratic voter who's here to check you out tonight? What benefit is it for them to hear the two of you have the conversation that you just had for the last 7 minutes? Tell me what a Democratic voter should think now about Republicans or either of you. Who wants to answer that first and give me the answer to the question? Go ahead. Who wants it first?
Please, Mr. Scoggins, go ahead.
You can go ahead. You're the woman. Go ahead.
No, thank
Ladies
you.
first. I believe in being. You go ahead. You have so much. Since you have so much to say, and you said that you can
I've
talk.
already declined.
So what I'm hearing from both of you is no one wants to go first in answering that question.
I'll answer the question. I will answer the question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Number one, Pastor Wright was active in the GOP, and I think she had some problems and left and everything, and left under unfavorable circumstances. That's number one. Number two is in terms of the Democrats, what they will learn from us. Number one, there are issues in the Republican Party, just like there are issues in the Democratic Party. But in terms of me personally, when I become mayor, I'm going to manage the city from an economic standpoint. I'm not going to get into all that he said, she said, and about Baltimore being territorial and all the smallness and everything. Some people call Baltimore small, what they call it, small more or something, a small more like that. I'm going to raise Baltimore up. I'm not going to stay in the gutter and talk about people and everything like that and make snide remarks and snide comments. I did not start that. Pastor Wright was the one that started those little droppings and everything. I was going to stay above the fray, which I'm above the fray type of person. I'm not one to get down into the gutter. And
so I want to get refocused back on the question that I asked.
Okay.
There are Democrats,
right?
None of you is gonna win this election without some Democrats crossing over.
Sure.
I'm asking you both, when a Democrat sees the interaction that the two of you just had, what are they to think about you and the Republican Party? Don't give me, I don't want to hear policy. We've had that for an hour and 20 minutes. I'm asking a pinpointed question about that now.
I would agree. I tell you what, I would agree if any Democrats saw us talking, I would agree with their assessment. And that is what happens when you have to answer a question from someone who wants to be a gutter snipe.
All right,
And
Pastor
what
Wright.
do you do? You do not say, you do not be quiet. You have to defend yourself. And
All
that's
right.
that's what I did. I could have just
Okay.
stand here and not say anything, but I'm going to defend myself.
All right, Pastor Wright, the question, talk to me, talk to the audience about the question
So,
that I posed. Go ahead.
in answer to that question, what would a Democrat learn? What does it say? What would they hear, and how does that work? What anybody should hear and understand is that I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I'm a fighter. And that by electing me, you will get someone that will
Oh,
fight
that's not
for
the
you.
question. That's not the question. That's not the question. The
Then
question
please
is
repeat the question.
to a Democratic voter who is
Mm-hmm,
watching tonight, for which
mm-hmm.
I have received text messages from some that said, I'm tuning in because I want to hear what the Republicans have to say. And they witnessed the interaction that you and Mr. Scoggins had, where you're throwing jabs at each other that had absolutely nothing to do with policy and issue. What should a Democratic voter think of both of you and the Republican Party? That's the question.
My honest answer to that is they should see two people that want to serve and run this city. That they should see two people that are willing to fight to be able to get to a place to make the changes and bring solutions to this city. And at least they will see someone or two that are willing to take up the mantle and fight. Not everything can be straight-laced platitudes saying nice things all the time. That's how we got into this mess we're in as a city now. Too many people said things that people wanted to hear to get that vote, and then the day after election day, turned around and put their real true colors out on the field. With me, you're going to get the scrapper. That's me. That's who I am. But you will never have to worry that I say one thing in front of you and something else behind your back. When I have an issue, I bring it to whoever it needs to come to. That's what you see from me. So when it comes to schools, I'm going to bring it. When it comes to crime, I'm going to bring it. If you all are not in a place where you want a leader that can actually handle the issues and bring it home, then no, I'm not the one for you. But if you want to turn this city around, if you want someone that will understand the issues and that will fight for you, regardless to whether or not their pinky is up all the time or not, I'm that person. And I don't make any apologies for it. I will fight for my city.
I have one thing I want to say, if I can.
Mr. Scoggins, here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. Mr. Scoggins, you will have 1 minute now. I'll time it.
Okay.
Pastor Wright, we're going to you for 1 minute. I will time it. Then we're going to have closing comments from both of you, 2 minutes. Okay. Mr. Scoggins, you have 1 minute now. Go ahead and say your piece.
Okay. What I wanted to do when I first got into this was to stay on focus, on target, and not get out of character. What any Democrat saw tonight in terms of me, that's out of character, but I'm not going to just stand here and take it like a be a doormat for someone who wants to make a lot of snide remarks towards me. I had to say something. I didn't want to really say anything, but I think I was compelled to at least defend myself because I'm very policy oriented. I got into this because of policy, not because of any ego or anything like that. So I would want Democrats to know that I'm going to be very, very focused, across the board oriented. And I'm not going to get into some of the smallness that has been, unfortunately, existing in this town for far too long. I'm not going to get into that, and I prefer not to engage with people who will instigate that type of behavior. Thank you.
All right, Pastor Wright, you have 1 minute starting now. Go ahead.
Folks, listen, this city is in trouble. It's in chaos, and we got to do something about it. My opponent has said things about my leaving the GOP Central Committee. He has said things about whether or not I have a church. He's said all sorts of personal things. Now, when it came to me and him, I merely spoke fact about whether or not he had been in the city long enough to understand the complexities of this city. That's not a personal barb. That's not even an insult. That's fact. If you have not lived, think about all the times everybody watching, think about how many times you moved to a different city. Think about how long you had to be in that city before you felt like you understood that city, much less how to get from one side of it to the other. This isn't about insults. This is about facts. This is about this city needs leadership that can hit the ground day one and
Time's up.
running
Time's
and
up.
knows
Please,
what
please
direction to
mute.
run in.
Time's up. Please mute. Now we're going to 2 minutes closing comments. 2 minutes closing comments. Pastor Wright, you are first. 2 minutes on the timer. Let's show the timer on the screen. 2 minutes, and then we'll come to Mr. Scoggins. Pastor Wright, you're up. 2 minutes.
As a Republican in this city, we're already underdogs. If we want to have a chance, we have to fight. We have to fight for everything as if the world depended on it, because our world, in terms of this city, does. We can't sit back and wait for folks to just have conversation and ask what we think and what we want and all that. No, we have to go get it. There is a phrase that true power comes from a seat, not just at one table, not just a Democrat table, but at all the tables. This election is about the power back to the people of this city. It's not about coming in and having a savior complex, thinking because you've been around longer than dirt that you have the solutions on how to fix things. This is about knowing this city and coming up with solutions that work here. This is about understanding the complexities of the Board of Education and what the mayor can do to weigh that leverage here. This is about understanding how the turnover has been of police commissioners, how many officers we're down now, what districts have the most problems, and being able to come up with a viable solution that works here. That's what this election is about. Now, we can only do but so much between now and May, but what you all need to listen to and understand and hear is, depending on who comes out of the Democratic primary, you're going to get more of the same or more of the same. If Baltimore City needs and understands that it needs new leadership with a new direction, then this is the way to go. I want your vote, not because I have the best responses or the best retorts. No, I want your vote because I actually care about the city. I've lived here. I've raised family here. I've read the city charter.
That's time. Mr. Scoggins, you have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
I want your vote because I feel that I will bring a fresh approach to Baltimore that's very well needed. And I also believe that we are on a precipice whereby and this is going to be directly to the Black community here, even though I will be the mayor of everyone. But I feel that over the last 50, 60 years, the opponent party has terribly mistreated the Black community. We have over 20% poverty rate. We have the schools that are failing. There are too many things that's wrong in Baltimore to continue on in the same path that it is right now. And I've talked to many, many people, and they said that perhaps someone who's hasn't been here forever would be the person that could bring a new perspective to the city. After all, Baltimore has many people here who are from other places. So you don't have to be here for many, many years to understand what's going on, especially if you've worked as long as I have. I pretty much know when I go to places, I know where to look for I can go and, as they say, I can follow the money and determine what's what. I don't need to know everything as some people may think, but I know where to get the information, and that's what's important. And I think that I have the temperament and the broad-based skills to do this. And I think that, and I don't think, but I know I'm a leader. I can bring people together, and I think that's what's important. You want someone who has a temperament and who has the vision that can make Baltimore what it should be. And Baltimore should be much, especially within our community, within the Black community, Baltimore should be much further ahead than it is. And I'm not a person who's been here forever and it's gotten corrupt. through being here, because that's what happens to some people. They get here and then they fall into a trap, and next thing you know, they get the same thing. So that's me. Thank you.
Mr. Scoggins and Pastor Wright, thank you both for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your perspectives on what it's going to take to make Baltimore a better city. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you for supporting the debate tonight. Thank you for sharing it with others. Remember, the replay will be available on YouTube. You can get to that link by going to the Leon Thomas Group website. There is a link to it that will direct you there, and this will also be on our radio network. If you go to the Leon Thomas Group webpage, you will also see the link. If I could ask the producers to keep the candidates on the screen, please. Thank you. And with that, I want to remind everyone the Democrats are not the only party that has folks running for mayor of Baltimore. You met two of the Republican candidates tonight, and I want to encourage everyone to pay attention, learn more about them, and don't just vote Republican because you've always done it, and don't vote Democrat because you've always done it and that's what mom and daddy told you to do. I want everyone to become independent thinkers. I want everyone to do their research. I want everyone to learn more about the candidates and their policies and their positions. That's the goal. That's what I want everyone to be able to do at the end of tonight. And as we move further into the early voting time and May 14th. Thank you again, Pastor Wright. Thank you, Mr. Scoggins. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching the Republican debate for the mayor of Baltimore. Thank you.